Welcome to the kitchen. I'm Leona Dooley, and this is Ebony Ivy Thyme. Now, today we're going to work on a round two recipe, and we're using one of our vegan original recipes in order to make this one today. And you know, round two recipes are very beneficial. Number one, because it's a great way to minimize any food waste. And second, it gives your family a different thought about something that you prepared earlier, perhaps either in the week or earlier in the month. And the nice thing is that when you prepare recipes so that you can do a round two recipe, then you've got food that is in your freezer that you have on hand ready to go. And you don't have to go to the grocery. That's a money saver. So let's get started. One of the techniques that I've shared with you that when you are cooking vegan is that you're going to begin with hot boiling water. And typically, the amount of water that you put into your skillet is going to be about the same amount that you would normally place oil into your skillet. Now, we're avoiding oil. Now, that doesn't mean that some oil may not sneak into something that we're possibly preparing, especially if we have to use a sauce or something that has actually come from the grocery store. But tonight, we're preparing this enchilada sauce homemade, and that's going to allow us to be able to control the amount of sugar, the amount of salt, and the amount of oil. Now that the water is boiling, we're going to add some measure to measure flour. And we're going to put that flour in, and the reason for the flour is just to thicken the sauce. And later, you can control how thick or how thin that your enchilada sauce is going to be. Now, many of the flavors that we're going to be adding to this enchilada sauce are things that you probably already have on your shelf. I may have a couple of things that are just a little bit different, but I will give you some options. First, I'm going to add some chipotle powder. I didn't have any canned chipotle because if I had, I probably would have used that. Or you can just use chili powder if you have chili powder that's on your shelf. You do not have to go out and buy something fresh. I'm also going to add one small can of tomato sauce. And once I've done that, I'll give it all a good stir. And then we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of tomato paste just to give it a good texture. This would be a great recipe for those of you who have a Taco Tuesday or a Taco Thursday. And just imagine being able to put your own homemade enchilada sauce together in about 10 minutes. We're adding some vegetable stock, and the reason for that is because of the fact that we need to loosen up our enchilada sauce. Now, how much vegetable stock you add is truly up to you because you know the texture and the consistency that you want your enchilada sauce to have. Now, what I'm going to do is that after I get everything added in, I'm actually going to put this into a blender and blend it until it's absolutely smooth. And it's going to look like what you would buy in the store, but it's going to taste even better. Now that I've got my taco sauce into my container for my blender, I'm going to add just a touch of vegan ketchup. And the reason for that is that it's going to raise the level of umami, and it's also going to take just a tiny bit of that chipotle bitterness out. The enchilada sauce tastes wonderful, but I think I'm going to add just a tiny bit more vegetable stock so that I can loosen up the consistency a bit. Several weeks ago, we did a video together that was called Preparation is Everything, and it was veg up because we added all of the small little leftover funny looking vegetables into a rice cooker and made this delicious black bean rice and vegetable mixture. Now, I was in the mood to prep for several meals, and of course, this is our round two. So because of that, we have all of that delicious black bean mixture right here in this container that I had put together, froze it, and now it's ready to make a round two dish. Now, because this has been frozen and the fact that it is rice, and you know, rice soaks up every drop of liquid there is, we're going to need to add just a little bit of vegetable broth to this. Or if you have some tomato juice, or maybe you may even have a little bit of salsa juice. If you have some fresh salsa that's made, the juice that comes off of those tomatoes and veggies, you might want to just put a little bit into this rice, enough to get it somewhat moist, because once it goes into its nice little enchilada roll, then we're going to be ready to cook it, and it's going to be delicious. Just to show you how quickly this round two meal can come together. Remember, we had already prepped lots of vegetables, and I have some of those peppers that the little mini peppers that I had chopped up. I'm going to take some of those out, give them a little extra chop, and add those to our rice and bean mixture. There's already some sweet potato that is in this mixture, and there's a little bit of onion, but we're going to add more fresh onion because I do have some already taken care of. So we're just going to throw in a handful of onion, throw in a handful of peppers, add a tiny bit of moisture with our vegetable broth, and we may even kick up the seasoning just a little bit more because, after all, we want it to be very Mexican-y or taco-ish. And so we've made our enchilada mix. So with that, I'm going to use those enchilada seasonings in the rice. Just to show you how quickly this round two meal can come together. Remember, we had already prepped lots of vegetables, and I have some of those peppers that the little mini peppers that I had chopped up. I'm going to take some of those out, give them a little extra chop, and add those to our rice and bean mixture. There's already some sweet potato that is in this mixture, and there's a little bit of onion, but we're going to add more fresh onion because I do have some already taken care of. So we're just going to throw in a handful of onion, throw in a handful of peppers, add a tiny bit of moisture with our vegetable broth, and we may even kick up the seasoning just a little bit more because after all, we want it to be very Mexican-y or taco-ish. And so we've made our enchilada mix. So with that, I'm going to use those enchilada seasonings in the rice. You might find my preparation for this just a tad bit interesting because of the fact that I'm using gluten-free tortillas, and I'm actually rolling them and placing them into a square. And the reason for that is because I want all of them to fit on the pan that we prepared. I'm not going to do them in a casserole dish, and I will pour the enchilada sauce over the top of it along with some cheese and put it in a 400-degree oven. Bake them, and once they're nice and toasty and hot, then I'll bring them out and we're ready to eat. Notice that our stores and manufacturers are starting to carry more plant-based items, and you can get them at just about every grocery store that you go into. Dinner is just a couple of minutes away, and we've got hot enchiladas on the table. And the sauce is homemade. The insides, the internals of the enchiladas are homemade. And you know what? We did it. We did it quick, and we had already prepped just about everything. You know, that's the fun part of cooking vegan, is the part, or even vegetarian, is the part that we can prep in advance. And then we can put easy, delicious weeknight meals together for our family and have it on the table. If you missed the Veg Up Preparation is Everything video, then I'll link that down below so that you can take a look at it, because then you'll know how we prepare the rice mixture that we have inside of these enchiladas. but they're going to be delicious. And I had to add just a little bit of heat. And so I'm doing that by adding some pickled banana peppers. That's just going to take these over the top. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on, and then I'm going to take the big guy his plate, and I'll share just a bite or two with you right here before we leave today. Come back to the Weeknight Vegan at Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme.